Welcome back to Adelante Chicago. More than 130,000 people in the Chicago area have been diagnosed with epilepsy. Unfortunately, there are hundreds more who have dangerously slipped under the radar. For most of us, seeing someone go into a seizure is, of course, extremely frightening. We're not sure what to do or even how to help. But perhaps even more alarming is the non-convulsing type of seizure that so many have without others even realizing it. WGN's Aaron Ivory has more.
I was 4. I didn't get diagnosed till I was 11.
Yeah, that's
7 years I had to wait.
CJ Girolamo remembers his teachers constantly calling him out for daydreaming.
My teachers kept like, why are you staring off? Why are you staring off?
But it wasn't until CJ hit 6th grade that those daydreaming episodes were diagnosed as absent seizures, a common symptom of epilepsy.
I never knew existed. I felt alone.
It's everywhere, and it can happen to anybody at any time. It doesn't care where you live, who you are, what color skin you have. It doesn't matter. Epilepsy and seizures can find you.
Which is why the Epilepsy Foundation of Greater Chicago is on a mission to educate and support the 130,000 locals living with this condition every day.
We're here to help. Everything we do is for free.
The foundation quickly became a lifeline for CJ and his family as they struggled to find answers.
They told me about camp and then all these other research and advocate, and that's where it all took off.
They put CJ's family in touch with top neurologists, and for the first time in years, the seizures began going away. The foundation sent CJ to camp that summer, where he was surrounded by hundreds of kids just like him.
I was with other teenagers that had the same connection.
The following year, CJ went to D.C. to advocate on behalf of the Epilepsy Foundation of Greater Chicago, pushing legislators to implement education and training at schools throughout the state.
They don't realize that they can go to them and for help. It's just out there.
We want people to know who we are, and we're here to help any way we possibly can.
The foundation has been a game changer for CJ, the source of scholarships, support, and assisting him with his dream to run his own auto shop.
To come in and see all this, I was just shocked, blown away. I don't even know how to describe it.
Through the foundation and Make-A-Wish, CJ's family garage was renovated into a full auto shop this year.
Snap-on tool chest with tons of sockets.
A gift for the kid who was once told because of his seizures, he'd never be able to drive.
Never thought I could get my license, never thought I would have all this, and here I am.
Nearly 100% seizure-free, and now the driving force behind the foundation that showed him the road ahead.
Thank you to Aaron for telling that story. The Latino community has some misconceptions about epilepsy, and helping us with some answers is Aisha Akhtar. She's a director of education for the Epilepsy Foundation. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you. Let's
Great
talk
to
a
be
little
here.
bit more about this because we learned what epilepsy is, and you heard Aaron say in that story that daydreaming is a part of it. When you first told me that, I had no idea.
Right.
But it's a huge issue.
Right. What I think people don't realize that there are more than 20 types of seizures, and I think the media has done a great job of really talking about maybe one type, which is the convulsive seizure, which I think a lot of people make synonymous with seizures or with epilepsy. But as you said, and as Aaron pointed out, that the daydreaming type of seizure, which is called the absent seizure, is a very common type, very, very common in young kids. It happens all the time in the classroom. And teachers often don't know what's happening. They think that the student is daydreaming or that it's ADHD or they don't want to participate in class. And then you have seizures where a student will smell something that's not there, hear something that's not there, or have any sort of other sensation, a sudden sense of fear, anxiety. And then you have the other end of the spectrum, which is the convulsive seizure, which everyone is pretty much familiar with.
Yeah, and I think in the classroom is
Yes.
something that we're all very familiar with. When we were in school, there were kids who were in fact daydreaming or kind of
Right.
staring off into space. So
Right.
it becomes very important that teachers and students become familiar with what a seizure is. Yeah.
And that's the most important thing. Just have an awareness, be familiar with what could possibly be happening in the classroom.
Okay, you are actually going into the classrooms and teaching about epilepsy.
Yes.
How is that going, and do you get any resistance from any of the schools?
It's an amazing experience. I love going to the classroom. I will either get a call from a teacher saying we just had a new student who got enrolled yesterday. Could you please come in and do a training tomorrow? Like there's a sudden sense of urgency. Oftentimes we get calls at the beginning of the school year, like we need to have free education, all of our education is free. Could you please come and train everyone? Normally there isn't pushback, but a lot of times we get calls from our clients. So we also provide client case management. And sometimes a client will say, can you please go to my daughter's school? There's bullying happening, or they're not letting my child enroll in the school. Can you please call the school? And then there's a little bit of pushback if I'm coming in from that angle.
Okay. Oftentimes on this show, we talk about the Latino community, and I know that there are a lot of misconceptions within the Latino community about seizures. Religion playing a big role in that. What are you noticing? Tell me some of the stories that.
Yeah, you're right. The religion does play a big role. What we've learned in the Hispanic community, the Latino community. I did meet a woman in Cicero a couple of years back, and she told me a really sad story about another mother who had recently lost her daughter to a seizure. Completely preventable. She didn't understand what was happening. She ended up trying to take the daughter to church more, thinking that she was being possessed by the devil, and was asking the community to pray. The other half of the community was asking her to go seek medical help, but unfortunately she didn't, and the daughter ended up having a seizure, slipped and fell in the bathtub, and died. And that did not need to happen.
Yeah, and that misconception carries through a lot of the community.
It does.
as well.
It does. That a person is cursed or has a spell, and that they deserve that, and that's not true.
Yeah, that's why raising awareness is so important. You're working on a bill right now.
We are.
Tell me about that, because there's some good vibe going there. Yeah.
Great. Yes, I'm fresh from Springfield. We were there yesterday. It's the Seizure Smart School Act. It's House Bill 1475. It's something that everybody can get on board with right now. It's to go to your representative and ask them to become a co-sponsor of that bill. And what that bill does is makes that seizure first aid education that I do in the classroom already, it makes it mandatory for all teachers who are already learning about diabetes, asthma, food allergies. So we're asking the state to basically include epilepsy as a part of that chronic condition list.
A part of the curriculum. How much longer until you know if that's going to happen?
I wish it could be done tomorrow, but that's not happening. So yesterday we had a really successful win. The committee voted 19-0 to get it out of the committee and back onto the House.
Okay.
So it still has a couple more readings, and then so we'll see.
Epilepsy Foundation, they can Google it and find more information about your work. So we appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.